Since man first found his voice, we've been using music to understand our place in the universe and record our history. Here at Behind the Shadow, we're going to show you exciting new artists and also take you behind the glass to show you what it's like to be in a recording studio and help you learn all about how to take care of your music business. Welcome to Behind the Shadow. We've got an exciting show for you with our special guest. Welcome to Behind the Shadow. I have got a real treat for you today. I have a dear friend of mine, a bandmate, a collaborator in so many wonderful things, just a good friend, Nestor Jaenz, with us at Behind the Shadow. Nestor, thanks for coming, man. I mean, not that you had much of a choice. I just sort of said, show up. And he and like his wife and my wife are good friends, and so pretty much if I can get the message to Nestor's wife, then she gets the message to him, and it's just a foregone conclusion. I want to talk about several things with you, and I want to start off by letting people know, in all seriousness, one of the greatest things that ever happened to me was meeting Nestor. He is a musician like few others that I know, and I'm not saying that lightly. Nestor, I call him my Swiss Army knife because he can do everything. He can play piano, he can play saxophone, he plays drums, he plays bass. He's the bass player in my band. But the interesting thing, and you don't hear this too often, master's degree in oboe. So let's start there.
Well, first and foremost, that plus $5 can get you a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have to remember the $5. I mean.
Oh yeah, the $5.
Without it, you can't get.
Speaking of which, don't forget to pay me after the show for all the good things I just said. Yeah. It's all about the money.
Important, yes.
All about. But I mean, I'm not trying to besmirch the oboe, but I want to ask you, that is not the instrument you hear most people, talk about playing. How did you move to that being your primary instrument? I mean, how did that start?
I started music down in Honduras. We have in the city I grew up in, San Pedro Sula.
Yeah.
We had a conservatory, a music conservatory, Escuela de Música Victoriano López, which means Victoriano López is the guy who founded it.
Okay.
Music school, basically.
Got it.
And at least when I was there, it was primarily government funded.
Interesting.
So it was open to everyone. You just had to pass your test. And I was very strict, incredibly strict. I remember for first year, we came in 40. And we graduated 5 in fifth year.
Wow.
Yeah, the attrition it was insane.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is that they had a very, at the time, they had just a certain amount of number of students that could be in an instrument at a time. So at the time I got there, 2 of their oboists were graduating.
So now when you say, I mean, like, so there only was the reason for that because there were a limited number of instruments to be used, or what was the reason for the? Okay.
It was because what happens is that a decent oboe will be somewhere between $2,000 $3,000.
Gotcha.
A student, all right, oboe can be $600.
Right. So saxophones are much the same, I think. Yeah.
So it's very restrictive.
Yeah.
Now, I was lucky enough that when I got there, 2 oboes were graduating.
Yeah.
So that opened up to possibilities for it. Now, I was actually going to conservatory for a French horn. That's what I wanted to play.
Now, when you got to school, had you already played the French horn, or were you starting at the beginning, or how did that?
Well, I hadn't touched an instrument until I was 14.
Okay.
When I got it, because my mom was watching a movie about gangs. And she thought that I was going to join a gang if I had nothing to do in the afternoon.
You would be the worst gang member ever. You would be the
be
guy that would be supposed to be watching for the cops,
and
you'd fall asleep, and then they come in and
in the corner with my thumb in my mouth.
Yeah.
That would totally be me. And the way conservatory works is that you would be in the morning you go to high school or middle school, wherever.
Gotcha.
And then in the afternoon you go to music school.
I gotcha.
So basically, for 5 years, my school they started at 7 a.m. and ended at 7:30 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's crazy. And now, when I got there, the teachers were doing a concert for the students, and that's when I first heard the oboe.
Ah.
And my teacher back then, Euridice Alvarez, she's an incredible oboe player. She's actually the professor at University of North Carolina right now.
Oh, cool.
Professor there. And she's got a wonderful, wonderful studio there. And I heard her play, and I just decided, well, this is what I want to play. So I wrote it down, and they tested me for it, and
the rest is history, right?
The rest is history.
So,
like
so I
they
mean,
say.
now one of the things that I love about the oboe is it generates, and this is proven because the whole orchestra tunes to it, the most pure A440 you've ever heard. I can understand you loving like the purity of the sound of the instrument. And I want you to talk a little bit about your sort of non-traditional way of playing the oboe, especially like here in town, where you'll play parts that are not written for oboe on the oboe. Let's talk about that because I know Stanley Roberts likes to bring you in to do that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So he was my, God bless him, he was my conducting professor when I was in college, and he must have done something really bad in a past life to have to try and teach a blind guy how to conduct. And I have to say, it's the hardest B I've ever worked for in my life. I probably did not deserve the B.
What is the most important part of conducting?
Eye contact.
Eye contact.
Yeah. I realized very quickly I was not going to be the world's first blind conductor. Although, interestingly, I will say there's a guy named David Berger who started the Jazz and Lincoln Center program, and he's a great conductor. And I told him that story about Stanley trying to teach me, and he said, well, you know, the best conductor I ever saw was Danny Kaye. And he didn't know what he was doing. But he emoted with his body. Let me actually sidetrack myself and say, speaking of conducting, let's roll that B-roll. Nestor conducts and teaches some wonderful students at Howard Middle School, and just watch this amazing way that he shows the kids what to do. You're going to see Nestor sort of stomp and clap, and the whole choir is going to echo it back. This is what a real conductor does. Nestor's not using just a baton or his hands. His whole body is informing the way that the students express the music. It's really incredible to watch. So I've interrupted myself a little bit there to share that piece of footage. But so tell me a little bit, let's talk a little bit about both those things. Let's talk a little bit about how you conduct and your journey as a conductor, because you've done that professionally for a long time. And then tell me a little bit about the non-traditional ways you kind of play the oboe.
Well, the conducting thing is a tough world.
Yeah.
And there's like a certain group of young conductors that are up and coming here in the States, and it's a very, very wonderful group of individuals, and it requires a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice.
Sure.
And my career starting to take off. It's starting to look up, and I realized that I came home one day and I saw this young man in my living room. It was my son Alan, which had a growth spurt while I was out.
Yeah.
I realized if I didn't stop this, I wasn't going to see him.
Yeah. So I mean, you call that. I love what you call this. You call it chasing the dragon.
Chasing the dragon. That's what I call it.
And I love. But what I think is so fascinating is the thing is, you're one of the most talented people I've ever met, and you certainly had the goods to do whatever you wanted to do. But what you realized is that your life had actually a higher purpose. Yeah. And I think that you're doing that now when you teach these middle school kids. I mean, it's to have a professor that can shape your life at that age, and make it, you know, a better place. That's a gem, and that's a privilege, and a joy. So I mean, you were out there doing all this great work with the conducting and flying all over the place and conducting orchestras. Decided to not do that so that you actually had, you know, a life outside of conducting, and that kind of led you to what's happening now at Howard Middle School, which is teaching these young people. I mean, tell me about how you do that. I mean, I got to tell you, man, we're going to talk about a song that we did with the school kids in a minute, you and I, but the respect they have for you, I would say actually the love they have for you, the amount of knowledge like that they're actually soaking in, they're so musical. It blows my mind. It's hard to get college kids to sit down and who are paying a lot of money to get trained, to get the attention and the respect and just like that these kids give you. It's incredible. I don't know how you do it. It's amazing to me, but they sound like kids that, you know, were born into singing, at 5 years old or something. I mean, it's incredible to me. Talk to me about that process with these kids.
Now, what's incredible about the school I'm in, Howard Middle School.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful environment.
It's always been a great music school.
Yeah, and it's a Title I school.
Yeah.
We're 100% reduced and free lunch. And what's amazing about a Title I school, and which I believe is the super important thing about public education.
Yeah.
Which is perhaps the greatest thing that this country could have come up with.
Yeah.
Is the idea of public education the way it is, which I hope we can keep it that way. The wonderful thing about a school like Howard Middle School is that there's people from different echelons of society, boom, living life together.
Yes. Yes.
And we have kids that normally would not interact, having an entire life in the most formative years of their life.
Yeah.
And that to me is so fantastic, because everybody comes out the winner after, because you have your most formative years just expanding your mind with people that you normally would not interact with.
Yeah.
And now the other cool thing, which is wonderful about this, is that it gives us the chance to impart knowledge on kids that normally would not be lucky enough to be able to afford lessons and things like that.
Yeah. Well, you're a guy who's a professional conductor, multi-instrumentalist, a lot of experience in not only performing but recording and writing and arranging, and have a master's degree in oboe. And these middle school kids are getting that kind of teacher. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, a lot of times, and I don't mean this in any critical way, but a lot of times they get a teacher that's fresh out of college and has a 4-year degree and has sort of a general music educational degree, which is sort of different, but they don't have that wealth of experience to draw on that you have. I mean, you've got so much that you can draw on that they can get early, which is so awesome.
And that's the thing that really drove me to middle school.
Yeah.
Throughout my life, I've been always giving lessons to,
oh,
kids
sure.
in high school and everything.
Yeah, in college, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I remember many times I would have these juniors and seniors in high school come and try to get oboe lessons and stuff like that too, because they want to go to a better school, or they want to do all these kind of things.
Right.
And it's almost heartbreaking to realize that with all the stuff that they got going on, they can't put the time and the effort to compete.
Yeah.
Like they could.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, being excellent at your instrument, whether it's singing or anything like that, it starts in middle school.
Yeah.
It truly does. If you don't have a good base in middle school, and that's, again, going back to the importance of public education.
Yeah.
It gives a chance, because right now, Bibb County, for example, is doing a wonderful job of hiring amazing educators. And the idea is to give the children a chance to get all this wonderful knowledge early on.
Yeah.
Which is super important, because they get this knowledge right now. It's something that's with them all the time.
Absolutely.
Like some of the stuff that I work with them is on professionalism.
Yeah.
On the way they behave and
they
everything.
do. I mean, you'd think these kids. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, the focus, the attention, and what to me as someone who sings for a living as well, is that their tone is ridiculous. You've taught them to center their tone, and they have such good pitch. It just blows my mind, man. There are people that are actually getting paid that don't sound that good. I mean,
and they're getting better and better and better every day. Things are compounding, man. If you could believe it, like right now, they are sounding perhaps 10 times better.
Oh, I believe it.
And it's amazing what's happening. And again with Howard Middle School, we got an incredible band director, and also an amazing orchestra director who's been doing this for years. And I see these kids that are coming through here that a lot of them would never have had this kind of chance if it wasn't for this school.
Well, I can attest to that. When I was in school, and I have a kind of a weird story. I graduated from high school when I was 14. It's a long story. I started college when I was 16. Took a year off because I was sick of school. But we did not have any kind of musical program at any of the public schools that I attended, or even the private schools I attended when I was a kid. focus on music education was not there. And, so we didn't have that. In addition to that, there was nobody for 150, 200 miles that taught Braille of any kind when I was a kid. So I came to Braille very late, which is one of the reasons I don't use it very often myself. But my point, though, is that, people are starting to really understand that getting a good education early is important. And it really, I mean, you don't want to be in college and getting a first quality education by the time you're 18 or 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, because you've missed so many opportunities. I want to talk a little bit about the song that we did with the Howard Middle School. So, you joined the band, and we started playing a song that I'd written with my friend Charlie Hoskins. Charlie passed away in September of 2017. And we did this concert with your choir. I guess is it technically a show choir, or what do you call it? What's the?
Well, it's technically a show choir, but it's kind of morphed into the advanced mixed chorus.
Okay. So that's the official name.
Yeah, something like that.
But we did this. You actually really liked the song. We started playing it in the band.
Yeah.
And you really liked it and said, something to the effect of, this chorus is so great, it sure would sound good with a full choir. And then all of a sudden, it was like, hey, why don't we do this with my school kids? And I was like, okay, let's do that. That would be awesome. So we performed this song that I wrote with my friend Charlie Hoskins with the school kids, and we're gonna share that with you now. This is just a camera and a microphone. I mean, there's no sexification of this at all. When you hear these kids sing, you're going to be absolutely blown away. But not only do they sing well, but their presence, their countenance, their professionalism, just incredible. So Nestor, of course, is directing the guys, playing piano. I'm playing guitar and singing. The choir, the kids are singing with us. And this is the song, Ain't It Good to Be in Love, which my friend Charlie and I wrote together. And Charlie passed away in September of 2017. And very sweetly, I came to one rehearsal with you, and I shared with the kids how much the song meant to me because of Charlie no longer being with us. And without knowing it, when I arrived to perform with them at their concert, they had put this beautiful tribute to Charlie in the program and dedicated the concert to him. And I sent that to his family, and they were really moved by it and just really excited by it. So I thank you for that. Let's watch the incomparable Nestor Jaenz here with his incredible kids from Howard Middle School.
It's so amazing to have a night where we can inspire people to live a better life through music. I think it's the closest thing we had to the language of the angels, and I'm glad that Nestor's here teaching it, and I'm honored to be here with you tonight. And this song, my wife just pointed this out to me in the program, that you may see it in the program, but a dear friend of mine in the UK co-wrote this song with me and passed away in September unexpectedly, and it's so just moving for me to be able to play this for you tonight in his memory, and I thank you for that opportunity. And Nestor, I'm ready whenever you are. Hit it! Sunny
So just to finish up, I want to say, we have a cool project going on right now. Obviously you're part of the band, and if I have anything to do with it, you'll be part of everything I do from now on. Now that I've kind of got my hooks into you, I mean, seriously, it's just incredible. But you and Charles and I went to Memphis and recorded at the famous Sun Studio in the same room with the same equipment that Elvis and Roy Orbison and Jerry Lee Lewis and Johnny Cash all did. And we initially did it as sort of a treat for ourselves, just to kind of do something fun and capture the band, at the stage we were at that time. But it turned out so well, it's going to be our next record.
I know.
and so it's really great. And I just want to say that was really incredible. That was such a cool experience.
It was incredible.
And what's so, again, I mean, we've done so much together, and your role in the band like sort of keeps expanding. Like, we go, oh, Nestor's a great singer, let's make him sing backups. oh, Nestor's a pretty good piano player, he should play piano. So we just keep adding more workload. But I just want to thank you for being part of that. You and Charles, it's an incredible record. It's a shameless, I'm giving you a shameless plug, but for the record. But you really should check it out. And we had such a good time doing it. And I gotta say, as great a musician as Nestor is, the only thing that sort of equals that is as great a person as he is. He's a fine human being, and traveling with him on the road's pretty fun. There's some stuff we're not going to share, but I will say that we had a wonderful picture of Nestor sleeping in the back seat of the van that we posted on Facebook. So if you go to his page and look for that, it's pretty funny. I did not take it, but he somehow knew that I was the one that instigated it being taken.
I think there was some drool involved.
There was.
There was definitely
you were snuggled up to like a blanket.
Yeah, it was a little blanket.
Where the blanket even come from?
I have no idea.
I didn't know we had a blanket.
It was a blanket that was back there, and somehow I drooled on it.
Yeah, and
I'm just happy my thumb wasn't in my mouth.
Well, the amazing part was you woke up and he was like, oh, why is my Facebook page blowing up? Because we posted it to Facebook and tagged him.
Tagged me, of course, yeah.
While he was sleeping.
Absolutely.
Which just goes to prove the old adage: never fall asleep around a blind man.
No, never.
Yeah,
it's not
never.
a good idea.
But listen, I mean, I would talk to you for hours on the show, but we're kind of out of time. But anything you want to share or impart before we head out?
Oh man, it's just I'm telling you, it's when I stopped chasing the dragon.
Yeah.
And I decided to foolishly give this teaching thing a go.
Yeah.
I had no idea I was finally falling into what I was called for.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing, and if if anyone's out there that's really has a passion for teaching and wants to do it, just go for it.
And you know what? You are called to do it. You're an excellent teacher, and I have to say that, when you take that chance, when you take that leap of faith, good things happen. And there's sort of a quasi-Buddhist phrase that I like, and it simply says, "Leap, and the net will appear." And you did that, man, and you're changing lives. Thank you for being with us on Behind the Shadow. Special guest Nestor Jaenz, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.